Hahn-Banach theorem guarantees the existence of a bounded linear functional, which states that if X is a Banach space and Y is a subspace of X, then any bounded linear functional from Y to K can be extended to a bounded linear functional from X to K with norm phi equal to norm F. So we can start with the, so what it says is we can start with the one-dimensional subspace of X and we can start extending the linear functional on that one-dimensional, so that we can, that extension will go up to the whole space X. So any bounded linear functional from phi to Y to K can be extended to a bounded linear functional f from X to K with norm phi equal to norm F. So let X star equal to B of X comma K. Then X star is a Banach space with norm F equal to supreme of modulus of f of X such that norm X equal to 1. From the consequences of Hahn-Banach theorem, we also have that norm X equal to supreme of mod phi of X, where phi is an element in X star, where phi is a bounded linear functional and supreme is taken over all those bounded linear functional whose norm is equal to 1. So while we define a norm of phi to be supreme of modulus of phi of X, where norm X equal to 1, we also see by the Hahn-Banach theorem corollary norm X is equal to supreme of modulus of X such that phi is a bounded linear functional whose norm is equal to 1. And also if X not equal to Y, then we can find a functional G such that G of X not equal to G of Y. So these are all the consequences of Hahn-Banach theorem. And also if X not equal to 0, then it is possible to find a linear functional such that norm f equal to 1 and f of X equal to norm X. So for any vector space we can find a corresponding functional. So how to compare a element in X and a element in X star. So we take any element in X, non-zero element in X, we can give a corresponding element in X star such that norm f equal to 1 and f of X equal to norm X. So we can define a set. Because such a element need not be unique, it is possible to find many functionals. For a single element, it is possible to find many functionals satisfying this condition, that is norm f equal to 1 f of X or norm X. So if we define the set to be Jx equal to all those phi in X star such that norm phi equal to 1 and f of X equal to norm X. So this map, which in general is a multivariate map, it is called a duality map. So in general this map is a multivariate map since it can contain more than one element, but some conditions on X can ensure that Jx is single valued. So now X star is called the dual space of, so we are giving a new name for X star. X star is the set of all bounded linear functionals on X or continuous linear functionals on, which is itself a norm linear space with a defined norm already. So X star is called the dual space of X. So for finite dimensional, dimension of X star will be same as the dimension of X. And also from X we can define X star. Similarly, from X star we can define X double star, that is a dual of X star. Okay. So X star, while X star is a dual space of X, and similarly we can define X double star as a dual of X star, that is the set of all linear functionals on X star. So X star itself is a set of all linear functionals on X, but again we can define another space called X double star, which is the set of all linear functionals on X star, and this X double star is called the double dual or second dual of X. The reason for studying the dual spaces, that is X star and the second dual X double star, is from the properties of the dual space we can deduce some important properties of the space X. So now we define a natural embedding from X to X double star. So X is a nonlinear space and X double star is the dual of the dual space. So for each X belonging to X, we define a linear functional from X star. So we have, for each element of X belonging to X, we define a linear function on X star to K by G X of F equal to F of X. Clearly G X of F is linear because G X of F plus phi equal to, phi is another linear functional, and G X of F plus phi is equal to F plus phi of X, which is equal to F of X plus phi of X, which is equal to G X of F plus G X of phi. So easily we can check that G X is linear. Also, if we calculate norm of Gx, because this Gx now belongs to X double star, because this Gx is a linear functional on X star. So if we calculate norm of Gx is equal to supreme of mod Gx of F by norm of F for all non-zero functional on X star. But we know Gx of F is equal to modulus of F of X. So it is equal to supreme of modulus of F of X by norm of F, where F varies over all the linear functionals on X star, non-zero linear functionals. But we know that this supreme is equal to norm. Actually this is, each member is less than equal to norm X, because we know modulus of F of X is less than equal to norm F into norm X. So each term of supreme of mod F of X by norm F is less than equal to norm X, and in fact the supreme is attained on norm X. Therefore we can see that norm Gx is equal to norm X. Now if we define a mapping J from X to X double star, that is J of X equal to G of X, so what we have done is we have identified an element of X with the element of X double star, and we have shown that this identification or correspondence is a linear isometry. So it is 1 1, it is a linear and it is an isometry, and so J of X is a subspace of X double star. Because J is linear, the range space of J, that is J of X, is a subspace of X double star, and we can see that X and J of X are isomorphic and isometric. So we have defined a isomorphic space to X in the subspace of X double star. Now this J of X, in some instances it may be equal to X double star. In general J of X is a subspace of X double star, but in some instances J of X may be equal to X double star. Then we say X is a reflexive space. That is, if X and X double star are isometric under this mapping J, so this mapping is called as a canonical embedding of X into X double star. So under this canonical embedding, if X and X double star are isomorphically isometric, then we say that X is reflexive. So X is reflexive simply is if X can be identified with X double star under this canonical embedding mapping, then it becomes a canonical embedding. If X can be embedded into X double star under this mapping J, then we say X is reflexive, or simply we can say X is isomorphic to X double star. So if X is reflexive, then X is isomorphic to X double star. So if X is reflexive, we can say X star is reflexive, because if X can be identified with X double star, then X star can be identified with X triple star. Therefore if X is reflexive, if and only if X star is reflexive. So some of the important properties concerning reflexive Banach spaces. So now this reflexive Banach spaces is a very important class of Banach space. So we know Banach space is a complete non-linear space. So there is a further classification of Banach space. So reflexive Banach spaces are special class of Banach space. And immediately we have any finite dimensional space is reflexive. So if we take any finite dimensional space, then we have it as reflexive, because any two finite dimensional spaces are isomorphically isometric. So any finite dimensional space is reflexive. So to see any finite dimension with reflexive, clearly J is linear and non-preserving, it is 1 1. Therefore dimension of x is equal to dimension of J of x, but dimension of x equal to dimension of x star, which is equal to dimension of x double star. So since in a finite dimensional all the dimensions are defined and they are equal, we can easily say that dimension of J of x equal to dimension of x double star. But already J of x is a subspace of x double star, therefore J of x is equal to x double star. So in a finite, any finite dimension space is reflexive. So if you want to find whether a space is reflexive or not, then that study has to be done only in infinite dimensional space.